In June 2025, the U.S. Supreme Court made headlines, not by issuing a sweeping gun rights ruling, but by choosing a path that surprised many legal observers and citizens alike. Instead of clarifying the boundaries of the Second Amendment, the court refused to hear two major cases that had the potential to reshape the national conversation on gun rights. In a 6-3 split, the justices declined to review Maryland's ban on certain semi-automatic rifles, a law that gun rights advocates have long argued infringes on constitutional freedoms. The court also turned away a challenge to Rhode Island's restriction on magazine capacity, leaving in place a law that limits the number of rounds a firearm can hold. For gun owners and Second Amendment supporters, this silence from the nation's highest court felt like a stinging setback. Many saw it as a missed opportunity to defend what they view as fundamental rights, fueling fears that their freedoms were being eroded without even a hearing. Gun control advocates, meanwhile, interpreted the move as a quiet but significant endorsement of state authority to regulate firearms for public safety. For them, the court's refusal to intervene was a sign that states could continue to pass laws aimed at curbing gun violence. The decision, or lack thereof, deepened the nation's divide, with both sides interpreting the court's inaction as a pivotal moment in the ongoing gun debate. The absence of a clear ruling left advocates and opponents alike searching for answers and bracing for what might come next. The Supreme Court's refusal to engage left the future of gun rights uncertain, amplifying tensions and setting the stage for further legal battles in lower courts and state legislatures across the country. This non-decision became one of the year's most talked about events, highlighting the unresolved conflict between individual rights and collective safety. As the nation watched, the silence from the high court spoke volumes, ensuring that the debate over guns in America was far from settled. The first case, Snope v. Brown, challenged Maryland's 2013 Firearm Safety Act, which banned popular semi-automatic rifles like the AR-15. Gun owners argued these rifles are common for lawful purposes and should be protected by the Second Amendment. The Fourth Circuit disagreed, likening them to military weapons and upholding the ban. The second case, Ocean State Tactical v. Rhode Island, targeted a law limiting magazines to 10 rounds. Supporters said this would reduce mass shooting casualties. Opponents argued it hindered self-defense. The First Circuit sided with the state, ruling the restriction didn't violate core gun rights. Both cases presented a direct challenge to recent Supreme Court precedents, but the justices declined to intervene. For gun owners, these decisions felt like missed opportunities to clarify constitutional protections. On June 2, 2025, the Supreme Court quietly denied review of the Maryland and Rhode Island cases, leaving lower court rulings intact. Only Justices Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch wanted to hear the cases. The rest, including Kavanaugh and Barrett, declined. The denial set no national precedent but allowed state bans to stand, fueling confusion and frustration. The court's split revealed divisions even among conservatives, signaling uncertainty about the future of gun rights jurisprudence. By staying silent, the justices left a patchwork of conflicting lower court decisions in place. Gun owners, manufacturers, and states now face a landscape of legal uncertainty. The Supreme Court's inaction ensures the debate and litigation will continue. The core constitutional questions remain unresolved, awaiting a future showdown. The majority offered no explanation for denying review, but legal experts point to caution and strategy. The 2022 Bruin decision set a new, history-based test for gun laws, causing confusion in lower courts. Some justices may want to wait for more clarity before taking another major Second Amendment case. Others, like Kavanaugh and Barrett, may fear a sweeping ruling would be too disruptive. In dissent, Justices Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch accused the court of abandoning its duty and letting lower courts defy Supreme Court precedent. They argued that AR-15s are in common use and bans violate the Second Amendment. The dissent warned that the court's inaction treats gun rights as second class, deepening the ideological divide. This internal split signals more heated debates ahead. The justices' disagreement underscores the unresolved nature of America's gun rights battle. The meaning of the Second Amendment has been fiercely debated for generations, with its language sparking passionate arguments on both sides of the gun rights issue. In recent years, however, two landmark Supreme Court cases have dramatically reshaped the legal landscape, setting the stage for a new era of uncertainty and conflict. In 2008, the Supreme Court's decision in District of Columbia v. Heller marked a turning point. For the first time, the court recognized an individual right to possess firearms for self-defense within the home. Yet, the ruling also acknowledged that this right was not unlimited, leaving room for certain restrictions and regulations. Then, in 2022, the Bruen decision expanded the scope of the Second Amendment even further. The court ruled that the right to bear arms extends beyond the home, protecting the right to carry firearms in public. Importantly, Bruen established a new test. Gun laws must be consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. Since Bruen, lower courts have struggled to apply this historical test, leading to a patchwork of conflicting rulings. Judges have reached different conclusions about whether modern weapons like the AR-15 and high-capacity magazines are protected, or whether they can be restricted under the Constitution. In 2024, the Supreme Court addressed some of these questions in the Rahimi case, upholding certain gun restrictions for individuals deemed dangerous. However, the decision left many critical issues unresolved, fueling further debate and legal challenges. Against this backdrop of legal uncertainty, the Maryland and Rhode Island cases arrived at the Supreme Court's doorstep. These cases ask whether state bans on popular semi-automatic rifles and large-capacity magazines are consistent with the Second Amendment's historical understanding, or whether such laws go too far in restricting individual rights. Across the country, courts remain deeply divided. Some judges uphold these bans citing public safety and historical precedent, while others strike them down, arguing that they infringe on fundamental rights. The Supreme Court, for now, has offered no clear answer. By declining to intervene, the justices have left the core constitutional question unsettled, prolonging the uncertainty and fueling ongoing legal battles in lower courts. As a result, the debate over which arms are protected by the Second Amendment continues to rage, both in the courts and in the public square. Awaiting definitive guidance from the nation's highest court, gun owners and advocacy groups reacted with outrage, accusing the Supreme Court of abandoning its responsibility. Many had hoped the conservative majority would strike down restrictive state laws. For them, the denial felt personal, a blow to their rights and safety. Gun control advocates, meanwhile, celebrated the decision as a win for public safety and state authority. They argued that regulating AR-15s and magazine capacity is essential to preventing mass shootings. State officials welcomed the breathing room to maintain their laws amid ongoing legal challenges. Both sides know the fight isn't over, but the court's silence gave gun control supporters a temporary reprieve. While sidestepping the AR-15 debate, the Supreme Court agreed to hear Woolford v. Lopez, a challenge to Hawaii's strict public carry law. The law effectively bans carrying guns on most public-facing private property unless owners post signs allowing it. Challengers argue this undermines the right to bear arms in public, as affirmed in Bruen. The Justice Department has called Hawaii's law blatantly unconstitutional, warning against backdoor bans. A ruling against Hawaii could invalidate similar laws in other states and clarify what counts as a sensitive place. A decision upholding the law would empower states to restrict public carry more broadly. The outcome, expected in 2026, will be a major test of the court's commitment to enforcing public carry rights. The case's result could reshape the national landscape for gun owners and state regulators alike. The Supreme Court's recent decision to sidestep the issue of assault weapon and magazine bans has left the nation in a state of legal uncertainty. By declining to take up these pivotal cases, the court has effectively allowed a patchwork of laws to persist, with no clear national standard in sight. As a result, the scope and meaning of the Second Amendment now differ dramatically from state to state, creating confusion for citizens and lawmakers alike. This ongoing uncertainty has fueled a wave of new lawsuits and legal challenges, as both sides of the debate seek clarity and consistency. Lower courts are left to interpret the Supreme Court's Bruen test on their own, often reaching conflicting conclusions. Judges across the country are grappling with how to apply this standard, leading to a patchwork of rulings that only deepen the confusion. The next major clue may come from a high-profile case out of Hawaii, which could help clarify the boundaries of public carry rights and set a precedent for future cases nationwide. If the court issues a strong pro-gun ruling, it might signal a willingness to revisit bans on rifles and magazines in the near future. On the other hand, a more cautious or narrow decision could mean that the legal battles and uncertainty will continue for years to come. Meanwhile, the debate over gun rights and public safety remains as heated as ever. The Supreme Court's silence has only intensified the stakes, leaving communities, law enforcement, and lawmakers searching for answers. The future of gun rights in America will not be determined by a single verdict, but by a series of legal battles that will play out in courts across the country for years to come. One thing is certain, the fight over the Second Amendment is far from over, and its outcome will shape the nation's laws, culture, and sense of security for generations.